Valley, and you turned right into it on perfect time. Jim,
Oh,
I'm so happy to see you. You know, the last time I saw you was not happy. It
Ron?
wasn't happy. Yeah.
Yeah, our
Yeah.
good friend Ron Zimmerman. Um, we lost another comedy genius.
And so, you know, let's start there and then we can move to happy things because you were absolutely the most wonderful friend to Ron, which
Oh,
I thank you for privately, but I want to thank you for publicly.
easy job.
Well, not always. Oh, I happen to know, not always an easy job.
It was for me. It was for me. We spoke the same language. Once in a while, you get somebody who you speak the same language. They're in your tribe. And Ron Zimmerman he was the funniest guy. He made Andy Kaufman look like, you
Like a
know,
straight and narrow.
yeah, like a straight and narrow, Kippadata, you know. Um, eh, I
Like a
remember
hack. Yeah.
Ron would come into the Catch a Rising Star, which I was part of a comedy team, and I was playing Catch a Rising Star,
We're going to talk about that.
and we had a band. We had a band there.
Oh
Uh,
God.
Eddie Rabin, I think his name, yeah. And so that's why I liked Catch because had a little band, especially on the weekends, a little trio up there. And
Right.
Ron would come dressed up as Gandhi was the big movie out, and I would say I would get to introduce him. And people always dropped in. Robin Williams and Rodney Dangerfield always dropped in. Oh my God, somebody just dropped in, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe he just let's just bring him up. He really needs no introduction. Put your hands together for Gandhi. And Gandhi comes up. Gandhi was the big movie, right? And the band starts playing dun 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 dun. Ron's got the cigarette hanging out of his mouth. He's got the sheet. And he grabs the mic. He goes, "Hey, left the wife and kid in India, Jack. Went for a walk and I never came back." And
Oh my
they hated him.
Oh
Like,
my God.
Ron,
Yeah, I mean, Ron used to get like booed. Didn't he get
booed.
booed?
Yeah, for some reason they just didn't think that, people were still taking Gandhi seriously in 1982 or whatever year that was.
Well, also he made many appearances as Jesus and
Oh yes, yes,
yes.
yes. And Maggie, my wife, produced a show called Hollywood Hell House,
Yeah.
which was an exact recreation of an evangelical Hell House. Um, and
You
she
filmed, there was the film. What was
we
the film?
there was a film that was a documentary about it, and Maggie was like, "Grr." And she said, "Let's do a Hell House." And I said, "Okay, let's do a Hell House." And no idea how much work it takes. It's 65. I cast a 65, hair and makeup and it was just the craziest thing that we've ever done. And
I
it was
was at the premiere party for that film, actually, I do believe.
Oh, no, that's Pure Sphere, I think. That might have been,
Oh,
yeah, that was Maggie's Bright Day. That's Maggie's other fake religion.
oh, okay.
Into making
Thursday.
fake
Okay, her
religions
other
out of
fake
all.
religion.
Keep up, Vic. Um,
I'm sorry. I don't know. You guys, you have too much going on to keep up with you guys.
I married a very creative person who writes poetry and does podcasts and acts, and she ran Sit and Spin, this fabulous
Which
spoke.
I got to sit and spin.
Oh yes, I'm sure you did. Yes,
Yes.
yes, everybody did, and that to me was like a real eye opener because uh, uh, Joey Soloway started it,
Yes.
and she did it for a year, and then her career, got busy.
His career.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
can you spell that out?
Believe me, I work very hard. My daughter corrects me on a regular basis. I get smacked around when I get the he,
His
her,
career,
his, her. Yeah.
Joey's career
Yes.
took off, and he gave it to Maggie, and Maggie ran it for like 19 years.
Yeah.
It was really, and that's when I really got to appreciate how much talent there is in this town. And it wasn't just like people in the business. Quite often it would be like our friend Kristen, who's a nurse, and she would come in
Oh.
and she would just tell like a great nurse story. And
Oh.
Maggie would help, people like, stuff would get submitted. Maggie edited it a little bit and,
Uh-huh.
keep it into a certain form and made some ideas. But there's like I define talent as anything I can't do. You know? So Plumbers are like, oh, plumber, get over here. Yeah, how did you figure that out? What's that pipe in there? I got a roofer right now, and I've got such a man crush on my roofer. Um, so, because I can't do that, But my thing that I can do is like I can write jokes and do that, but so that's not talent to me, and I cannot write like a piece like some of the people in this town. We had Taylor Negron would come in all the time, and I mean,
Taylor.
I
Oh, you
mean,
named
and what we did is like Maggie never kind of blew it up. She had opportunities to blow it up, but there was something
mm,
very nice just about us, And I came up with another observation, which was, um, it's not the performer that's hip; it's the crowd that's hip you
ah.
know and the crowd will tell your performer whether or not they're hip or not. So anybody who wants, I'm going to be a really hip guy and I'm going to get no, 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 the audience is hip. Sit in the audience. Figure out what audience you want to sit in, and that's where the real hipness comes from. Jot that down, people who
Well,
want.
I sat in that audience many a time, and many people who sat in that audience are saying hello to you today. Like Jim Beaver
Oh,
wanted to say hello to you and tell you how much he loves you, and Rob Ross, and oh my God, there are so many people who
good.
have been felling and
He's
are
still
so happy.
alive. Oh my God, he's still alive. God bless him. Oh, I thought we lost him.
Well, so many of them are. And you mentioned, Taylor, and he's another one. And you and Maggie always had these fabulous after the holiday sit and spin party, you'd have these fabulous, and you probably still do. I just wasn't invited since
No, we
COVID.
have no, no, seriously, not, when Sit and Spin died, I mean, there was no reason to have, I mean, but yeah, we had big, giant Sit and Spin parties,
They were just
hundreds of people.
spectacular,
Yeah, they were great parties.
spectacular.
Yeah.
And they were just a hotbed of talent, and but just people hanging out and having so much fun, and and
It
you
was
guys
kind of like
hosted
what I
beautifully.
dreamed like, Hollywood would be, like, to me, like show business was the Dick Van Dyke Show. And I loved the Dick Van Dyke Show when they would have their parties at their house, and it's like Buddy and Sally going to go up and do a little bit, and somebody's going to play the piano, and
And Mary would do a little
Mary
dance.
would do a little dance. It'd be lovely. But this I'll tell you my Carl Reiner
I
story.
need the Carl Reiner story because I was telling you,
Well,
Carl
you
published my
know,
book. I need the story.
I was a sickly child, and I stayed
Wait,
home.
wait, what do you mean you were a sickly child?
I wasn't that sick. They kept me out of school for a year. It was the best year of my life, sixth grade. It
Did
was
they really?
Yeah, I had a seizure in front of the
One
school.
seizure
Just one, well, a couple
kept you
more.
out for a whole year?
Well, until I got it under control, they didn't want you to, right? So this is like 1966, and they were like, until he gets those seizures under control, and they didn't have them under control. It took like 6 months, but as a kid, it's like you don't feel a seizure, you know. You get a lot of attention. It's fabulous, And I stayed
Did you
home.
have to like do the work and stuff, or did you get to
No,
just watch
no.
TV?
I watch television. I get up at
Wow.
7 in the morning, and CBS had the best. They had all these sitcoms on, and I'm quite sure that's probably how I got my, understanding of the formulas because you're seeing them in a strip. All these other kids are in school. They're learning math and science, and I'm learning. Hmm. Barney's going to lock himself in that cell again, isn't he? Yes. Yes. There's a pattern to this. There's a pattern.
Wow.
But of course, Dick Van Dyke had just gone into syndication. And as a 12-year-old kid, you probably didn't stay up till 9 o'clock to watch Dick Van Dyke. So I got all that. And I just, the idea of sitting in a room with a couple of people writing funny jokes and acting them out, it just seemed like, and I'm going to walk on the moon. It's like so far away. But I loved Alan Brady. I loved the
Mm.
angry, nasty, mean boss. I don't know why attracted to that, right? So I'm working on Two and a Half Men, and Carl Reiner is a regular on the show. He comes in every once in a while. He's probably in his early 90s, right? And he is so nice to everybody, He's like the cast, right? He take the script, oh, guys, the script is great. Oh my God, so amazing. Da, da, da. Laughing the whole week long. And then we get to shoot night, right? And the rehearsals, he's out by 5 or 6, during rehearsal. But when you're shooting, now it's 8 or 9 o'clock, and we're sitting there in between shows, and there was one joke that didn't work wasn't working for Carl. And we were like, let's give Carl a great joke. And we're all pitching. And I was the unlucky bastard who like got the joke in, right? It wasn't even a great joke. It was something along the lines of, Carl Reiner at 91 saying, "Oh, I can't do that. It's my mother's birthday," or something like that. Yeah, nothing, right? And so they go running it in in front of the audience, and Carl goes, "Look at this." He's getting a little grumpy, and I go, "Well, that's that's the joke." He goes, "Yeah, no, I think I like what we got. This one's a thinker." And we go, okay, because let me rephrase that. It's not a thinker, it's a stinker. Come on, what the hell are you doing? Jesus fucking Christ. It's 9:30 at night and you're throwing new lines. I mean, God damn it. And all the other writers are walking away, But I'm just standing there, like taking it in because it's not Carl Reiner anymore. It's Alan Brady. Alan Brady yelling at me. My life has come full circle. I'm Dick Van Dyke, Buddy Sorrell, and I'm being yelled at by Alan Brady. And that was just kind of a moment of zen. And I felt good because all the youngers were younger than me because all the writers are always younger than me now. And, and I'm just taking it like, this is how you take it. This is how you get belittled in front of a student audience. Take it proudly. That's my Carl Reiner story. He was wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he was the sweetest man.
But at
And just
9:30 at night, you don't want a new show.
no. And especially since every night, I assume you know this,
With
he and
Mel, yeah.
Mel would have dinner together and they'd sit with I was doing my audiobook in his pool house and I would come in and they'd be sitting at their little TV tables eating their dinner and watching whatever they were watching and arguing and laughing about it. And that's
Yeah.
how he spent his evening. So you were
Yeah.
cutting into the Mel time.
Hey, I didn't make the hours. You could have said no. Block and tape. Come on.
Okay, so I asked
He
you
wanted the
before.
rest of the audience.
So
We
since
all-
we're talking about the joke you wrote for Carl, I asked you before we came live if you would tell us a joke, which is something as the people out there will know. I never ask people to do this, but Jim, you're the guy. I want you to tell us a joke.
I got this from Bill Sheft, who was David Letterman's right-hand man, right?
Who Gabe,
Yeah.
my husband. Yeah, we know Bill. Yeah.
So Bill always calls me when he has a good joke. Well, there. So this one, it was a really good joke, but I love my daughter very much, and I want to share jokes with her, but some jokes I can just tell because she's gonna go as much, right? So what I did was I just changed the gender of this joke. Okay, so okay, so here's I'm gonna do it like I told my daughter. Okay.
Okay.
So there's a woman sitting at home, and all of a sudden, knock on the door. The cops are there, right? She goes, "Oh no, what's wrong?" They go, "Well, we have some good news, some bad news, and some fabulous news for you." And she goes, "Oh my God, well, what's the bad news first?" And they go, "Well, your husband." She goes, "Yes, he went kayaking earlier today." And he goes, "Well, we just pulled him out of the harbor, and he's gone." She's like, "Oh no, but wait, didn't you say there was some good news?" He goes, "Yes, yeah. The good news is there were about 75 Dungeness crabs on her, on him, and we're gonna give half to you." And she was like, "Oh, but wait. Well, what about the fabulous news?" I go, "Oh yeah, we're pulling them back out tomorrow." Now, yeah, let me get my dog, okay, so it doesn't step my fucking joke. Where's the gun? Yeah, this is just in case this is Woody. Woody, where are you? Woody. Here's Woody.
Oh.
So, so what I like about that joke, to deconstruct it, it was a good news, bad news joke, probably when it was born.
Right.
Yes. The bad news, what's the good news? Dungeness crabs. And then somebody along the way, usually a guy in prison, put that extra thing on it, fabulous joke, and then, we're pulling them back out, right? Which is just, oh, good, a nice twist on that. But I knew that the joke, of course, how I heard it was there's a guy sitting at home and they pull his wife out of the harbor. And it's a social experiment. If you tell that joke to women, the exact same joke, but switch the genders, women are gonna go, "So what? We're bait." Is that what you're saying? Women are fucking bait, right? Can I curse on this? Yeah. Women are bait, right? And
Women get pissed off.
yeah, they're gonna get mad, right? So I just changed the gender for my daughter, and it was the best laugh I've gotten maybe in 14 years.
That's
But
fantastic.
my daughter knows comedy. My daughter is like
I know your daughter was in head of the class, right?
was in the head of the class. Yeah, she was in
So now, okay, so before we have your daughter's history, I don't know. I know about the Funny Boys, of course, but
mhm.
I don't know how you got to be even there. So, all right, so you grew up in New Jersey, which
Yeah.
not particularly a funny place in my opinion, but I don't
Um,
know.
I think New Jersey, everyone's a smart ass in New Jersey. You know?
That's true.
So that's probably that's our animal. That's our mascot, the smart ass.
The smartass. Were you the smartass in school?
When I got back to school,
Oh, right. You have
I
a whole
had been
year.
taken out. I was the kid who had the seizure in front of everybody. So I had to do some rebuilding, you know.
Did
So
they ever find out what the seizure was?
epilepsy.
It was.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's an easy, yeah. It's like, like 1 out of 100 people have it. It's no big deal.
Okay.
And but when you got like high school, like junior high was it was just a wash. I just like it's not it's not happening for me. And also I was very short. I was the shortest kid, and I stayed short up until my senior year. And so you know I became the class clown and that went in that.
And
And
that was how you kind of, so if guys would pick on you, you'd get them back with the
yeah,
wit.
yeah. If
Yeah.
someone's laughing, they can't beat the hell out of you.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was, but then I went to a county college for a year. I couldn't,
Oh,
they wouldn't, the state of New Jersey wouldn't let me drive. So it was a drag. And then
why wouldn't they let you drive?
because I have
Oh,
epilepsy,
epilepsy. Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't want
Oh,
me to have a seizure and take out like 4 people in the Garden State Parkway.
yeah.
So, so, uh, so, I get to this, I'm at this county college, and as a lark, I did a couple plays there, and the teacher said, "Hey, they're having auditions at NYU. They're doing a new program where they have professional acting teachers as opposed to like just like college teachers. Uh, Stella Adler is teaching at NYU. Why don't you go audition?" As a lark, I went to the city and I auditioned. I'm sitting in the little room
Wait.
outside.
Before you get to this, had you been doing school plays? Had you
I
been,
did like 2 plays. I did 2 plays,
had you done any stand up?
Oh God, no.
Oh, no, no.
This is
Okay.
like 19, what's it? It's like 1973. So,
Okay. Yeah.
the idea of like, making my living in show business it's just foreign. It's just, I never really wanted it, but this was
You
a look.
thought you were going to be an accountant? What did you think you were going to be?
Yeah, I thought I was going
Yeah.
to be an accountant. I worked in my
Okay.
father's machine shop. I could do that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
The stupid things that we all think we're going to do. No one,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a comedian. Just, and my mother, she wasn't having it. As a matter of fact, so I auditioned for NYU, and I'm sitting in the thing, and I say to the kid next to me, I go, "Hey, who's Stella Adler?" And he goes, "Oh, she's the greatest acting teacher of all time, Marlon Brando, Stanislavski, blah 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 blah." And I go in there, and they say, "Jim, why do you want to come to NYU?" And I say, "All my life, it's been my dream to study with Stella Adler, Marlon Brando, Stanislavski, blah 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 blah." I was just telling the kid out in the hall. So,
Oh my God, I love
yeah.
this.
So, a couple weeks go by, I don't hear anything. And the kid who I went with to the audition, he goes, "Yeah, I'm on the waiting list." And I went to the old lady at home, and I said, "Ma, nothing from NYU?" And she went, oh yeah, this came." And it was that day. It was that I go, I had to get like, I think it was $1,200, you know, at NYU by 4 o'clock. And if I had not asked, the old lady would have said, "Oh yeah, yeah." Now, I don't have any proof that she was holding it from me, but I think she was. I don't think she wanted her kid to be an actor. And I think she
Wow.
probably is right. I mean, at that point, I gave absolutely no indication that I had any sort of talent at all. But that's how I went to NY.
Well, you must have been funny at home too.
Everybody at my house was funny. Yeah.
Ah.
And I, it's it's something that you learn, you to be like a funny person. To me, the thing is like you just have to not be afraid of not being funny.
Mm.
You have to be able to take that silence, up until now. I mean, you just have to be able to, you make a joke and you're going to look at everybody going, and, it hurts every single time. But nobody wants to see a guy go, they want you to, shrug it off with a laugh. Nah, put that in my play. And what do you guys know about anything? So that's how I got in. I got into NYU, and that's where I met Jonathan Schmock. And but also I got married like when I was
Okay, so because you had to, is that what you wrote on the thing? I couldn't.
no 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 no
No,
no.
you wrote I got married. I, I don't. I didn't.
Oh no,
Couldn't you?
I wrote kid. I had a kid, I got married and had a kid, and then for some reason I wrote the word get instead.
Yeah. What did
Yeah,
that
no,
mean? Oh,
it
I
was a
had. Oh,
typo. It was a
okay.
typo.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, what does that mean?
No,
Okay.
no, 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 no. We got married, we had a kid, and and then we moved into Manhattan Plaza in New York. And and that was a building, for those who don't know, for all actors and writers. This is like 1978. They built these beautiful buildings on 42nd Street, but nobody wanted to move into Hell's Kitchen.
Right.
So I think it was Estelle Parsons. There's a documentary about this. I'm in it.
Really?
Yeah, Estelle Parsons said, "I know a group of people who are have no money and would love to live in the theater district. They're called actors. They
It
like to perform." So this became like one of the first.
was really hard to get in there. Did you have a hard time getting in there?
It was weird. We went in, they said it was a 10-year waiting list, and me and Myra went in, and they said, "Are you both in equity?" "Yeah, we're both actors." "And do you have any married?" "Yes, we're married." "Do you have any children?" We have a little daughter." And they said, "Okay, there's 2 apartments left." And I
Wait a
said,
minute. How did you get in equity?
"Oh, you know, I did some summer stock." Myra was an actress. My wife,
Hmm.
Myra, was an actress. And
Hmm.
we, did some summer stock up in Iverton Playhouse,
Hmm.
Connecticut. It was beautiful. It was exactly what I thought show business would be, a different show every week, no budget, no money. I remember once I was the stage manager. I got in that way. They wouldn't let me.
Ah.
And we were doing Play It Again, Sam. And the special guest star from Broadway was Treat Williams, right? He
Oh,
was
another
playing,
one.
yeah, I know. And he was playing the Tony Roberts part, right?
Ugh.
But because he had an agent, um, he had to have a box around his name on the program, right? And Treat Williams with a little box around the name. It was like in his contract. And I was the stage manager, and they got the programs back from the printers, and they forgot to put on the box, and there was no money to go out, and you can't have these reprinted. So my job for about a week was drawing a box around
Oh
Treat.
my God. Was
Like,
this before hair?
yes, yes.
Hmm.
I think he was in Over Here on Broadway,
Okay.
the Sherman Brothers musical.
Hmm.
But so I got in, and that's where I met, like, Kenny Kramer, who of course was the Kramer. He ran the babysitting co-op for the building. Sam Jackson was our, security guard, both by
Oh my
Jackson
Lord.
every day. Oh yeah. Tennessee Williams lived on the 41st floor. Angela Lansbury lived there. It was the place to live in the early 80s. It was just,
Wow.
and LD, Larry David, and
And in those days, Larry was getting booed off the stage, no?
oh yeah.
At the improv,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. He'd be there for 2 minutes and they didn't laugh. He just dropped the mic. Pearls to swine. Pearls to swine. So and actually I asked him, we did a show together. Kenny did a show for Manhattan Plaza. And Larry, he asked Larry to do it, and Larry wanted to pull out because Larry was so sure that he was going to bomb in front of the management of Manhattan Plaza that they would kick him out as not really being a performer. He was, "Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. They're gonna find out. They're gonna get out. I'm the work department." So like, I'll never talk to you again. These great dramas. And but I remember seeing Larry, this is like 1978. And I think Larry will probably tell you it was probably at that point probably one of the best sets he ever had because they were theater people. They were
Right,
got it. They got them, And
right.
um and then I got remember at a little party afterwards, I said to Kramer, I said, I did me and Jonathan and another friend of ours did our little act, and it was terrible, but it was
Okay, so Jonathan also lived at Manhattan Plaza?
no Jonathan and I went to NYU together, so I met
Ah,
John.
okay.
Jonathan was like the most talented guy in the class. He's still one of the most talented people I know, and we would mess around, and they had a little car.
What were you? So you were okay. My daughter went to NYU and she was in Atlantic. Were you in the Stellar Adler?
Yeah, Stella Adler,
Oh,
but
okay.
she had classes up at City Center.
Hmm.
And I studied with her. She was amazing. She was amazing.
Okay, so now,
I didn't
were,
get it,
were you
but
there when Gabe was in Strasbourg? Were you there the same time as Gabe?
I don't know. I think
Okay.
so. He
He
might
was
have
with
been.
Alec Baldwin. They were in the
Yeah,
same
I think he was a year or two behind me. Yeah.
okay. So now you got okay, so you met Jonathan at NYU and how did you figure out that you guys could do this were you doing stand up yet? You weren't doing stand up yet.
No, we weren't doing stand-up, but they had a little cabaret night, and Jonathan and I had a couple of little sticky things that we did, and and
How did you figure out you guys could do sticky things
just
together?
hanging out and da da da, and I would say something, and he would say something funny, and da da da, and I said, "Oh, this is really good." I liked writing. I always liked writing the ideas, and he's just this amazing performer. He can do anything. He can do accents. He can do absolutely anything.
I saw your performances on Carson and the I think your first performance on Carson and one of the I think maybe the first thing you guys said was, yeah, life's really tough. A couple of white blonde guys with straight hair, and there you were, two gorgeous blonde
Yeah. In
guys
the ghetto where we were born, life was
in the
tough.
ghetto where and I don't know if it got a big reaction live there. You can't really hear it on YouTube. Did it get the reaction it should?
Um, you know, uh, at that point, remember, there were three networks, and being on the Tonight Show was surreal. Like from when we started doing it to being on the Tonight Show was maybe 3 years,
That's fast.
and that was really fast.
Yeah.
And and Carson, if you notice, like in the early years, he never broke that fourth wall.
Right.
You only saw what was on stage. You never saw the audience. They would cut back if they were doing Stump the Band. They'd go to the audience.
Right.
Maybe they'd do a shot on the thing, but you never saw. He just kept that wall going.
Right.
I'm sure the other comics have told this. There's something about that little X, like. And at one point, like when I was doing that, what do they see? What do those guys? What are they looking at? I remember as a kid thinking that. What do they
Hmm.
see? And to be in that, I remember thinking it was nerve-wracking because we just weren't ready, and we didn't have like 10 years of Catskill stuff.
Right,
We
right.
had a lot of performances under our belt, and we could do it in 10 minutes. But when we got the show, it was like 3 weeks from when they told us we got it, and I don't think I slept for more than an hour. And there's a point where how when the comic opens, the thing opens,
The
and I'm
curtain, yeah.
and I'm going, I wonder what amazing, fabulous device they have that opens the curtain magically. And it's like, it's a 58-year-old guy named, look, it's like, everything is just torn away from it, right? But these are like the little things that stuck in my head. And yeah, we got out here. Leah, uh, uh,
Leah, who's on the thing. Yeah.
yeah, she was the one who broke it for us. We were doing the clubs, but you couldn't get reviews at the clubs, right? And then I guess she
So
said,
you
"Hey,
guys passed at the clubs right away?
pretty much, yeah."
Uh-huh.
Well, Bill Maher was like, you
Okay,
know,
now how did you come to know Bill? How did he champion you guys?
well, Bill and I we met. Bill got like passed at the comic stripped
Hmm.
Tuesday night by Jerry Seinfeld, and we came in on Wednesday night, and we got passed too. And when you were at the comic strip, you just waited until the scheduled acts were gone. So I'd be there, 1, 2 in the morning with Bill, and I had a little car, kid. and and you know, there's nothing better than New York City at 3 o'clock in the morning with a car.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. It's good. Hey, let's go. We had to go downtown sometimes. We had to go there, but and then Jonathan and I had a little breakup. Jonathan, wanted to pursue some other stuff, and I just said, okay, well, I took a year off, and then we kind of got back together. And by that time, Bill had worked his way up to being an MC at Catch,
Now, wait a
where
minute. When you and Jonathan broke up, did you do stand up on your own during that
I
time?
tried it for about 5 minutes. Mostly I was cleaning apartments and feeling sorry. So why can't I have money? But
Yeah.
we kind of got back together and Bill put us up at no, what happened is, Bill put up a catch, but then we got a chance. What was the name of the club? Oh my God. That Leah put us in. It was in Soho and and
In Soho.
yeah, it was, and Soho was like none of the comics wanted to play. It was like Soho. Who's going to go to Soho? It's like there's nothing there but lofts and gay people, and 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 I said, is there going to be a reviewer there? And they said,
Mhm.
yeah. And I said, okay, we should do it. We should get reviewed. And we got down there, and there were like 6 acts before us, and we were like the seventh act, and there were maybe 4 people in the club, and two or three of them were the guy from the Daily News. And so me and John get on stage they're getting up to leave because they've seen enough. And I said, um, are you the guy from the Daily News? And he said, yeah. I said, and you're leaving? I mean, I came down to Soho to perform for this guy. Yeah. And okay, he sits down. And Jonathan and I, luckily, we had played for so many small crowds. We had shtick for that. We turn our backs to the audience and go, I think it's really going well. I liked it. It's the stuff that Jim Gaffigan does now. And we played it enough. And the next day, we get a review in the Daily News. That's like the review to die for. And that gets us a call from NBC, and NBC
Wow.
flies us out to audition for Brandon Tartikoff. Warren Littlefield and Brandon Tartikoff and Joel Thurm see us. And it was us and Jim Carrey that looked at that night at the
Oh my Lord.
Comedy Store. And they gave us deals. They gave us deals. They don't do that anymore. And that was enough for us to move out here.
Now
And
they gave you deals as actors. You got double
yeah,
trouble. Is that when you got
yeah.
double trouble? Mhm.
First, we got a pilot. They that Eve Branstein directed.
Oh
Um,
my Lord, I
I
know
know,
Eve.
right?
Wow.
And we got it was called TLC. Here was the premise in 1983. This is what passed for a premise for a show. Two guys decide, are you ready? They want to become, are you ready? Nurses. Nurses, come on. So we did that, and Jessica Walter played like the dean of nurses, and it was a cute little pilot, for what it was in the '80s, and it didn't get picked up, but they reran it in the summer. They used to do that, and they don't do that
Uh-huh.
because if you do that and it does well, someone's going to get fired. They stopped doing the let's burn off those pilots, because I mean,
Wow.
reviewed and somebody was like, how come they didn't pick this up? And the numbers for our show they just happened to be good numbers for not anything that we did. And they put us on another show called Double Trouble. And so Jonathan and I got a little bit of heat when we got out here. And we kept working for a couple of years. We did Tonight Show and we got in the whole 80s comedy thing. And then
By the
John,
way, the King Kong washing dishes thing, hysterical.
yeah,
Still
it was.
hysterical.
Yeah, we had a nice act that you could do for families, and we did cruise ships, and we did the whole thing, and yeah, it was
So how did that segue into writing for television?
actually Jonathan was getting real parts, and the act was never like when you're in a comedy team, you know You spent a lot of time. We spent
Yeah.
a lot of time together. And Jonathan was like he started out as wanting to be a serious actor, and he saw an opportunity where we were just kind of like, actually I had gotten cast in a show that Bill Maher was starring in, and that our friend Chris Thompson and Ron
Oh,
Zimmerman.
Chris, another
Yeah,
one. Ay,
yeah, I know.
ay,
I
ay.
lost them all. Right?
Oh, what show was that?
Was called Hard Knocks, and
Sure.
it was on Showtime for about 13 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and Jonathan thought that would be, he said, hey, listen, you're doing this, I'm doing that, and then of course immediately the show was canceled, and I just, this is what, if you want to tell people in Hollywood, this is how you did it back then. I started a rumor that I was writing. Um, what are you doing now? Because, we were still on TV and reruns, and, it's like, oh, Jonathan and I have moved on from the act. We're still wonderful friends. It's amicable, but I'm concentrating on my writing now. I'm writing and I'm
Now,
writing.
was Ron already writing? Had he?
Ron had started writing on like Hard Knocks, a little bit before that,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and we were pretty good friends. Actually, me and Callie Corey
Mm-hmm.
went on to write Thelma and Louise. We wrote a script together, and everybody said no. Me and Callie Corey went to the improv to, because she was a waitress, and I was a half a comedy team, and I said, well, that sucks. No one likes our script, and she told me the story. She goes, well, I got this idea for two women who go on a road trip. And I said, oh, you might as well write it. What difference does it make? And then she wrote Thelma and Louise. And like
Wow.
years later, she was Callie Corey. But
Wow.
yeah, I just started this rumor, and then Don Rio, who had produced Double Trouble,
Mm-hmm.
he knew I was very good at coming up with lines on the set, and I'm a pretty good ass kisser. Say, there's better, but I do it, and people don't know it's me. That's they don't know it. So yeah, that's how I got into that. And Don calls me up one day, Jimmy, I'm doing a show over here at Whit Thomas Harris, the guys who do Golden Girls. And I went, oh, okay. And so we did a show with Brian Keith. And
Brian Keith.
Brian Keith, it was a show about farming. He was a farmer, right? It's kind of like the real McCoys, I guess, would be the, another reference.
Brian Keith was Family Affair. Wasn't he
Yeah,
Family
yeah,
Affair? Yeah,
family.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He
Yeah,
always
yeah.
he used to tug the lines out of his face, "Swap." But that was the first show I worked on. But I had Paul Witt and Tony Thomas, in the booth with me, and that's where the real show was going on, and I kept on making them laugh, and just kept on making them laugh, and of course the show didn't go, but I knew Paul and Tony thought I was a funny guy. That was my accomplishment on that show, and the show's about to get canceled, and I go into my little tiny closet of an office, and I take out a joint. I feel sorry for myself joint. I start smoking this joint, and Paul Witt opens up the door, and he's got like a $10,000 suit on, and he's very classy. And he looked at me with a joint hanging out of my mouth. He said, I thought fast. I said, what, you just thought I was funny? And he goes, hey, we're going to have you back. And then a couple of weeks later, they put me on Golden Girls. So, and once I was on Golden Girls, I was like, but I was like 32, 33 when I
And
got.
so, how was that writing for those babes?
Oh,
Was that?
that was the best. Well, I had never really seen the show because we were on the road so much that
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night, at 9 o'clock, just and they didn't rerun it yet, and I'd seen clips of it, and they said it was funny, but they always say it's funny.
Right.
The Cosby Show was supposed to be funny, and I looked at a couple of those, and it's like I don't get it. Yeah, I just didn't get it. A lot of sitcoms aren't particularly funny, but you
They're
know,
not funny. Although, but you can give Betty White, you give those women anything and they make it
Mount
funny.
Rushmore, Mount
Yeah,
Rushmore,
they are.
and
They
Susan
were.
Susan Harris created these amazing characters. It was all set in stone. I came in the fourth season, and it was all set. It was,
Mm,
it was done. It was just, Mad Libs, just fill in the blanks. And but you learned how to write a good joke on that show
mm.
because, and I've said this before. Everything I've said here, by the way, I've said it a million times. But uh, if B. Arthur can't get a laugh with your joke, you've written a bad joke. You know, if Tony Danza can't get a laugh with your joke, you've written a joke that Tony can't get a laugh with. You know, because Tony Danza is one of those actors. He's good. He's got a great personality, comedy, but he carries his own laugh track along.
Right.
If you see him on the show, he's like, I didn't know I was about in the lobby. Oh, the audience is laughing along with Tony. He's okay. He's all right. But
Yeah, but he's not B. Arthur.
it's not the other. And then, I got to work with those women for like 4 years.
Wow.
Then John Larriquette, and he's another, guy who knows it. And, just I got right into that 90s groove and did some really good shows. And then you do some shows that, they
You
don't work.
did action with Jay Moore, I saw,
That
yeah.
was that was
Mm,
Chris Thompson. That was Chris Thompson calling me up saying, "Hey, because we were really good friends." And for the people who don't know, Chris Thompson was a really ahead of his time writer. He wrote Bosom Buddies was like
mm,
his claim to fame, a show that
mhm.
was canceled like 4 years too soon, because the day after they canceled it, Tom, Hanks is like the biggest star in the world. And why did and people are walking around ABC, why did we cancel this? They didn't like the way Chris, didn't take their notes. It's always something like that, right? And so, yeah, this was like around 1999. And that was the same thing. Don Rio, Ron, that was
Yeah.
that was our clue. And that was a show that was ahead of its time. I don't say that very
Mhm.
often. But that show was like, it was supposed to be on HBO originally.
Mhm.
And then it's based on this producer, Joel Silver, who, I only met him once, but, one of those guys, tough producer, not a nice guy. That's what I hear, you know. And that's how we wrote the character as just ruthless. And Jay Moore it was the best thing he's ever done. It's
Yeah, he
just
was great.
if anybody isn't doing anything, check out Action. But the trouble with that, the name of that show is like if you Google it, it just takes you into a whole different action TV show. And people they give you action shows. They don't, you have to
Oh.
write Action J Moore or
Oh.
and then I got to work with Buddy Hackett on it. That was amazing.
Mm,
I got to work with some big ones, yeah. Like
mm.
we always had like A-list, like and just like this surreal, like I'm giving notes to Caesar Romero.
Wow,
You
that's
know,
crazy.
and yeah, and even Golden Palace, which we did. But it was all the girls except for except for B.
Mm,
And I remember we got a call from the network. It was Sweeps. Sweeps is when you
yeah.
need a gimmick, you need a gimmick, kids. And nobody could think of any guest cast. And then Betty comes and she goes, "Why don't you get George Burns?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And I went to, his little he had an office right over on Seward, he and Irving Fine. And and we go to meet him, and they got him propped up in the chair like a puppet. He got the wig on, got the cigar, his legs are dangling. And of course, I've read all of his books, and I'm saying, tell me the Dusseldorf story. Oh yeah, Dusseldorf. Da, 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 da. He's doing the whole thing, and I go, well, the show that we want to do is we just want you to. Do you know any songs? Betty's sad. That Betty White will be sad, and you have got to cheer her up. All right. And I go, so do you know any songs named Rose? He's probably like 90 with the word Rose in it. And he just rattles off like 14 songs.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
about, Rose by the name would be a sleeper. Rose, Rose, Rose. Amazing. Amazing. Amazing that you get to work with him. We had him for 20 minutes. He nailed it. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Those are like the little memories. I don't have any pictures of it, because I'm saying, well, it exists. I'm not a big fan of like, take a picture
The
with someone.
selfies, yeah. You don't need them. You have all these great stories and these great memories. You're going to write a book? You're going to put them in a book? No.
No, this is it. You're my book, Vicky.
There you go. We're
Vicky,
documenting it right
open
here.
up, Vicky. You're my book. Everybody lick their finger and turn Vicky.
So, all right. So now wait a minute. 2.5 Men. What kind of craziness was that to
Well,
do?
that was very late in the run. But yeah, it was like the last two seasons. It's it's a classic show. And John Cryer, he's another one. He's just so good. He's just so good. And he's so good you don't know how good he is.
Wow.
People just kind of take it for granted that he's going to get the laugh every single time. He never missed. And then on top of it, an unbelievably nice human being. On
Oh,
top,
good.
like you know.
That's
So
good.
that was
That's good to
good.
know.
I have a lot of shows when you're at my level, um, I like going in on the first season. That's always the most exciting because you're helping to create the characters and you're helping to, and then you get in the middle of some shows and that's kind of a little hard because everybody's, you don't want to be on a hit. It's always a drag. People are always breathing down your neck, right? And yeah, it's just a lot more pressure when a critical hit, especially.
Okay,
Uh,
so what? All right, so you have Arrested Development, which wins you an Emmy.
but
You're nominated four
I,
times. You
I,
have WGA, but it's not. It's not.
that
Oh,
was the lucky thing that I didn't tell you before is my first day in a room with on a TV show. Mitch Hurwitz was also the other new guy at the end of it
on.
on the Brian Keith show.
Oh.
And he's younger than me. I remember he saw me. I was like maybe like 30, and I had like long hair, and of course I'm chain smoking, and I'm it's awful personality I've concocted. And um Mitch would say, he'd look at me. He was like right out of Georgetown. He had the suit on all the time. He was trying to be like a writer. And he looked at me, he goes, Jesus Christ, Don's surfer friend, Jimmy. I had no idea. I've been doing comedy for 10 years. So, but we really clicked and we worked on just about everything. We worked on Golden Girls together. I mean, we probably had we did like a couple of seasons of Larriquette together. We worked from like 88 to 96 every day. We probably did, two, 300 shows together.
Wow.
And you just know each other's thing. And of course, all the stuff that we want to get in never gets in. And then all of a sudden, Mitch has an opportunity to do Arrested Development. And he called me in on it. He had I read the pilot and I was just like, you know, this is genius. It's gonna last maybe 6 episodes, maybe. And no, this is a paycheck. Yeah, this is yeah. But when it got picked up the pilot, they picked it up for 13. And the numbers were horrible, horrible from the beginning, too complicated. No, why are you connecting it? What it's just too complicated. That was always the thing from and also Rupert Murdoch didn't like it.
Ugh.
We heard, because he's such a fucking connoisseur of comedy. Oh, Rupert doesn't like you. Oh my God.
Oh
What
my
are we doing
Lord.
wrong? But we're in two different businesses. They want to make money and high rating shows. And for its time, I mean, the way we did that show, the way Mitch did the show, because I was just, I was Watson to his Sherlock Holmes. And we would just because we always thought the show was about to get canceled. So it's just like, well, let's just make this it was like live every day like your last. This was like write every show as if it's the last, because it very well could be, because the numbers were awful, but the reviews
Wow.
were great. And the only thing that kept that show going is that we got some awards.
So how did that happen? How were you because your peers appreciated it and knew what it was, I guess.
It got, well, yeah, people, people saw this like 2001, I think we
And it
premiered.
was niche. I mean, you had your huge
Yeah.
cult following.
Yeah, it was just the beginning of like getting instant feedback on the internet. And I remember there was a site called Television Without Pity, a bunch of television nerds, and they just loved to skewer it. And
Television without pity. That's hysterical.
but yeah, and it became a site. It became a thing that, I think somebody bought them at one point. But they had probably about 10,000 people on the internet. And the way we wrote that show, it was like 7 days a week. We were always in the office. And but Sunday night the show would air. It would air at like, 6 o'clock our time on the East
Mhm.
Coast. It's at 9 o'clock, whatever, right? So 6 o'clock, you know, Mitch would kind of wander over his computer, and me too. We'd see what Television Without Pity was saying. And really, what we were looking for was, do they understand the plot? Like that's how, because they just didn't do shows that with that much story in it.
Right.
He had 9 characters, and Mitch wanted everyone to have a story all the time, and it better, you know, it was like Seinfeld on steroids, just boom, and so much we would write these scripts. A shooting script should be about 28 pages.
Right.
We would our scripts would be about 65 pages
What?
on Sunday night. And then Mitch would go into his office and I would pretend to go into my office to cut it, you know. And I would fall asleep, and then at 3 o'clock in the morning, Mitch would be like, we got it down to 30, 35, we got it down to 35. And then around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, we would release the pages. So the studio really didn't get that change. They give us their notes at like 10 in the morning. They would call us up. Okay, we have notes, and meanwhile, we're watching the trucks go out to, Calabasas to shoot the show. And so, there was always sort of that like, you know, they didn't like the way they didn't get the input, I think, like they like that. But it was still a good show. I mean, the product was good, but we would the cut would come in, we'd always be 10 minutes long. And to take 10 minutes out of a 22-minute show. Uh,
Wow.
I think 30. And that's where I think really Mitch really made a difference. It's because a lot of guys, they get the cut, they get the edit cut, and they look at it, and they make a couple of suggestions, 10 or 12 suggestions. I didn't like that saying to this day, especially on multicams. Uh, but we had so much material. We had like usually 7 or 8 takes of everything, which you don't have in multicam. And and Mitch would just go in and at midnight and work till 4 in the morning, and I would sit behind him once again, half asleep. Like there's an old movie, an old Capra movie called Meet John Doe or something like
Uh-huh.
Meet John Smith, but Walter Brennan. Once again, I'm Walter Brennan plays like Gary Cooper's, stupid friend, and he goes, "This is the guy, this is America. He's an idiot. He's just like everybody else in America. If he likes it, I go with it, and come up with a slogan for him. I go, meh. I was like that for the comedy. Mitch would wake me up, Jimmy, what do you think? But it's the editing. Well, it's everything. But and of course, the best cast ever to be assembled for any television show ever. I mean, every part worked. There was like not one weak link in that. And you get like one of those once in your life, and you stick with it. If you get something, I mean, ask Maggie. I didn't see her for 3 years. You really put your heart into it, Mitch especially, because I would put in 60 hours a week. He put in 80, and we would walk around that lot, that Fox lot, because we had set this bar that was really, really high. And
Mhm.
you're just in a groove and you just can't, this, we're not geniuses. I'm not a comedy genius, but, there was just a little niche that he always picked my best jokes out, and it inspires you to do your best work.
It was magic.
Yeah,
And it had to be validating to be acknowledged by your peers every season, get those
we
nominations
we we
and
didn't
win the
we didn't
award.
we didn't even get a chance to go to any of the dinners or anything. We were always working.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, when we won, it was you know it was amazing. But when we got into that third season, and we had snagged Charlize Theron as our guest star, right? And she wanted to do 4 episodes, and you could tell they didn't want to pick us up. And actually, I've read stuff. There's the guy named Preston Beckman, who was uh, he was the guy who scheduled the shows.
Mhm.
he's to NBC, the must-see TV, and then he went to Fox. And he's like written like, oh yeah, I try to get arrested, canceled all the time. Rupert hated, so I'm not like talking out of
Right.
school here, but yeah, they just didn't like it. They didn't like it. It cost money, but it was making a fortune in DVDs
Wow.
because that's how our audience was supposed to get it. And if they had had streaming, if they had had, because the
Mm.
same thing happened with The Office. The Office, I think, was like maybe 2 years after us. Like at at the beginning of our third season, I think The Office.
Hmm.
Once again, they didn't get good reviews when they first came out. Because Carell, admittedly, just hadn't found the character yet. He was trying to.
Right.
Ricky Gervais did. He never got the character. So, uh, but and NBC was about to kill that, and somebody said, but it's doing really good on the $1.99 iTunes thing. What do you mean? People are buying the episodes because, they don't have TiVo yet or whatever, but, and so they kept it on that. And I think if Fox had known, because, you know, Amazon was just coming out and DVDs was their first sale, and we would be like number one, when that you buy the season for like $30. That's a lot of money in 2001. It's like 80
Yeah.
now, and we were always number one for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And then we'd pop back up right before Thanksgiving. We pop, we were watching that, and I go, our numbers are terrible, but these DVDs. And somebody said, yeah, but that's not our department, huh? You know, I'm still bitter. Can you tell? But
And
you know,
so and so then you guys did a show together with Will Arnett. You did the Running Wild, and you created that together. And
yeah.
was that fun for you?
Well, working with Will Arnett is like, it's like the most fun thing in the world. He's the funniest man to ever walk the earth. He's just absolutely hysterical. And I think we were kind of like burnt out a little bit at that point, and we probably did like 15 drafts. And you know, it was sort of the same thing of like, you know, guys, you're getting so crazy. I think in the pilot. Hey, yeah, it was a good experience. I think the show should have stayed on. Um, but is this weird thing of like they were just so trigger happy with canceling the shows back then. We did 13. I mean, Fox had a show starring Will Arnett. Will Arnett at the height of his game, and Kerry Russell and a really funny guy named Peter Saravinovich. And they were just like, nah. Like those things are like I don't think the people who like they don't realize it is kind of like it takes a little while to get over like th those sort of cancellations. I'm not like poor me, but it's just like especially when you think the show is good. I mean,
Mm.
I remember somebody from Fox called up us and said, when they were going to cancel Arrested in the middle of the third season, said something along the lines of like, "So what are you guys going to do now? Like movies?" It's like, "What? You've banned us from television?" It was such a weird, thing of like we're working our asses off trying to make this show that is still getting, awards and recognition and
Right.
wants to do it. And all you're thinking is like, you guys shoot 10 minutes long every week. Can't you just do one in the house that all takes place in the house? Do we need Tobias in every episode?
Have you done a streaming show?
Um, I guess I've done, I'm mostly network.
I know your network. Why don't you do a streaming show where you don't have those idiots over your shoulder?
Um, I'm old. I've probably have done, I have done some streaming shows. I'll look at my, right now I do a lot of punch ups on movies. I do things
All
like
right, so I was going to say, so what's on the so wait, so when the pandemic came, Jim, what were you in the middle of, and what did you do for the first few years?
you know, like everybody else, right before the pandemic came, uh, we had to fire our agents, because,
Right.
they were trying to make money for themselves of our hard work. So, so that was like, I had been at CAA for like years,
Hmm.
and it's just like, and I think it was maybe like 65 when we had fired, and you know, you fired agent, at 65. So, and then I was tired. So like, Maggie and I, were always working on something together, and I just kind of like COVID. It was just like no one was making anything. What do you do?
Were you productive? Did you decide, did you
No,
sit back
oh,
and
no, no,
watch
no, no,
TV? What did you
no.
do?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's what I
You
did.
were normal. Okay.
Yeah, no, if I had any ambition at all, I'd be so much further along. I certainly wouldn't be talking to you right now.
That's true.
If you had any ambition, would you be talking to me? We're not ambitious people. Just turn into Seinfeld. We're not
So,
ambitious.
okay, so now, so what does life now look like?
I do punch ups. My daughter, I'm really proud of her. She's a casting director, and casting directors are the unsung heroes of this industry. They
Okay, so is she doing all like is she looking at self tapes? Does
Ghosts.
she actually
Yes,
have people
ghosts.
come into the office?
It's all changed, hasn't it?
It has.
Everything is done like she doesn't have to go into office much anymore. But her mom's a great actress, Myra Turley, and she was just she grew up in Manhattan Plaza. She grew up with actors all around her. She
Right.
loved actors, and a good casting director will get that out of you.
Mm.
I'm very lucky with I have a really smart daughter. I have a really smart wife, and you know, women are smarter than men.
I
I'm so
love that you appreciate this. I love that you appreciate them. It's so
kicking and screaming. I
wonderful.
went into it, but it's true. It's true. Like comedy, I think the biggest change in comedy was when Tina Fey took over SNL,
Mm,
the writing staff, because for years, if you look at the first, 30 years of SNL, it's guys. Guys write that show.
mm-hmm,
And it's the same point of view, it's the guy's point of view. And when Tina Fey got there, all of a sudden the women, not knocking any of the other women, because
mm-hmm.
Anna Gasteyer, brilliant, Lorraine Newman, brilliant, Jane Curtin was, another, they did it, but it wasn't their show yet. They hadn't taken over. And and when Tina Fey gave it, and that's when you get Kristen Wiig, and it just changed. It was like clean snow that hadn't been urinated on yet, this whole other point of view. And that's what I mean, television has gotten a million times better over the last 15 years. These streaming shows are amazing. And if you look at shows from the 80s, most of them don't hold up. Let's be honest. I mean, Cheers, of course, Frasier,
I don't
Gold.
watch any of them now.
Yeah, yeah, Golden Girls is still on the air, and I think because there's a warmth to that show. And the expression evergreen, it's always
Hmm.
going to be, I call Golden Girls evergray,
Hmm.
because there's
Evergrey.
always going to be old people. There are people who are like, I never liked that show, but now I really relate, and it does make you feel good when you're not working, to say, well, the work that I did, like, 35 years ago is making some people laugh today. And that's like a nice feeling, knowing, I'm still kind of working, you know.
Okay, so before we go, so what are you watching these days? What are you streaming?
Oh, everything. I think Tim Robinson is probably, like, how did SNL lose him? Uh, Absolutely brilliant. The Detroiters, just so funny. I like broad comedy, like
Mm-hmm.
anything that Martin Short does. I love Martin Short. I like,
Hmm.
but once again, comedy is like, talk to most comedy writers, and it's like,
I'm not watching any comedy
I'm
right
really
now.
liking White Lotus, right?
I'm not liking White Lotus. I'm bored with, I don't know. It's not doing it for me this year,
Well,
but
I never like bad mouthing anybody else's work, but yeah, you're right. White Lotus isn't happening this year. I
it's
keep on
not.
waiting. We're waiting. I
I
mean,
know we're waiting too. And
he's
Jason
built up
Isaacs,
so.
I love Jason Isaacs. He's a friend, and
Which
but
one is he?
he's now taking his wife's pills. He's now taking Parker
He's
Posey's
great. Yeah,
pills.
that's
Yeah.
the storyline I'm liking. Him I like, but I mean,
Actually, Schwarzenegger is pretty horribly funny.
wait, who's Schwarzenegger?
Patrick, his son, the
Oh,
obnoxious rich kid.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the guy, I can't think of his name, Gogian, the one who has the girlfriend with the buck teeth,
Yeah,
the
she's
one
good.
he,
They're all good. They're all good. It looks like it's always about the pop up, but like that
yeah,
show,
but nothing's really
they
happening.
used to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
You know, I think
Yep.
Mike White probably. I think he goes to these places, and writes it when he's there. And I just
Hmm.
think he got too many massages or something. No, I just think he's like it just became like a little too mellow for him. And
Well, see, here's another one. Do you watch Severance?
no, it freaked me out.
Okay, I couldn't get past the first episode for a long time, but I got hooked, and I'll tell you, it's like it's totally sucked me in. But the last two episodes, it like jumped the shark. I'm like, what is going on here? Anyway, I'm
It's
bummed,
hard.
but
It's really hard to keep, that magic going, especially on a show like White Lotus. I mean, it's like, um, all
1923, are you watching that?
that was the year I was born. Um,
It's brilliant. It's
okay,
brilliant.
I watched 1923. What else?
It's
What else? What else would I watch?
we're watching now this one with Olivia Colman that I didn't watch the first time around, Landscapers. It's from 2021. It's a true
Oh,
story,
I
four
have seen that.
episodes.
I have seen it. That's really good.
Really good. And now we're watching the one that just dropped. Oh, it's fabulous, about the bomb on plane flight 103, with Colin Colin Firth. It just dropped like 2 days ago, and it's about the remember the plane, the plane that
Oh, the
was
one that dropped
bombed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's about that. It just dropped. It's really good.
Well, the old shows that like didn't that nobody watched that I would encourage people to watch is I Love Somebody Somewhere. It's this little
What is
HBO
that?
show. Um,
I have to write that down.
this comedian Bridget Everett, I think her name is. I'm really terrible with names, but it's this very low budget Duplass brothers that are just amazing, and she moves back to her hometown you know in the Midwest, and it's just awkward, gay people trying to, fit into this, building this community, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautifully written,
I'm writing it
you
down.
know.
I love
Yeah,
that.
somebody somewhere uh,
Okay.
should have won every award, I don't know why it didn't, but I'm always wrong. I'm wrong
Well,
about everything.
well, you know what? You might always be wrong, but you are one of the good guys, Jimmy. I am. I think the world of you, and I will. The whole Zimmerman thing was
Oh.
just
That was the our house became like because I have a nice big backyard, and we ended up we did Chris Thompson's memorial service here, we did something for Taylor here, we did something for Ron here, and the Ron Zimmerman one was I just opened it up. I just said anybody who wants to say something about Ron, and it was a it was the most amazing remembrance.
well, that remembrance was amazing, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about how you took care of him at the end of his life, and how you showed up for him, and how you were there for him, and that um meant the world.
Well,
And
sometimes you accidentally have to do something nice.
well, you
He was he
absolutely.
was he was amazing. And if I can give a plug, my wife has got an amazing podcast, 50 Words for Snow, where she examines a different word, a couple of different words in another language that America doesn't have an equivalent of, and
Oh,
doing really, really well. So, and it's really smart. And so 50 Words for Snow is what I'm working on right now. I'm not doing
Well, I love the fact that I love how supportive you are of her, and
it's the best.
you're a great couple, and
Uh,
it's wonderful to
it,
see.
it's been so much fun. Thank you for asking me. I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, you were perfect, and thank you so much for doing it, Jim. Long time coming, and I hope I see you in the real